Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to Monday number 4.
Monday number 4.
Monday number 4.
It's Friday Eve.
Oh my goodness.
Hopefully
right,
I'm in the right chair. If I got to keep adjusting this, I'm going to switch them out.
I set your camera and
Listen,
then you move and then I got to readjust your camera.
I can't help
where you're going to be.
One of these chairs is broken and they look exactly the same. So we'll see. If I start drifting downwards
That's okay.
towards the floor,
I can adjust your camera.
it's the broken one.
Yeah. I'm really thrown off today. And
Why?
I don't know if it's going to make me cranky or not, but going into, all the holiday family stuff, whatever, I go into a really low inflammation deal. And a bunch of my hearing comes back when I do that. And so the frequencies that I'm dead to, like they don't come back, but everything else does. And so I get inundated with sounds that I'm not used to hearing. So like that fan behind me sounds like a damn jet engine.
You can turn it down. It's chilly anyways.
Off-putting. I need it. It feels good. But anyway, the long and short of it is that I'm overwhelmed with stimulus right now. Stimuli.
My husband over the last year or so got hearing aids. And he will kind of get that way is he's used to not hearing everything.
Right.
And then we'll go somewhere and he's just like,
too much. It's too much.
He'll be like,
yeah.
You're not like the rest of us that are just used to all the noise.
Yeah, you're used to it. I am definitely not used to it.
Why is your inflammation down during the holidays?
Well, you'd go into low inflammation mode and then you get yourself set up so that if you get exposure to new stuff that your immune system can handle it better.
Oh, like the things you're doing.
Yes.
Are okay.
Yeah. So I do that about a week and a half, sometimes a week before, I travel or whatever. And I'm in that state and it's just weird. So weird.
So if you stayed that way, you could hear more often?
Yeah, but it's not useful hearing because I hear those frequencies anyway. It just magnifies the crap out of it.
Sometimes you're like, I like turning all that down.
Yeah, I'm used to it, and when it's almost like you're in a dark room, right? You get used to it, and then you get bright lighted. That's what it's like today, where it's just too much. I'll readjust, and it'll become normal, and then whatever.
So do you ever get like? I feel like this happens to me more often, and interesting enough, I feel like a lot of other adults say they'll almost get overstimulated if there's too much going on. Like if I get home and this person's talking and the TV's really loud and someone else starts talking and blah, blah, I'm like, can you just stop? Everybody just shut up for a minute. Do you get that like that?
Oh, I come in here every morning and I don't even turn the lights on and I sit in quietness until loud people start arriving. I didn't point to you directly. There are other loud people in here.
I must be your favorite person to be around in the morning.
Well, it creates a contrast. I'll say that.
Do you have to hype yourself up to be around me?
No,
you have to be like,
no. I do have to drink a lot of coffee, and that adrenaline rush after the caffeine is enough to ramp me up to you.
Because I've been
told, a lot.
I've had other jobs where
you're extra.
I'll come in the morning and people go, "You're too happy. You're too happy.
Yeah.
Like you're too bubbly." And I was like, should I be a bitch?
Now knowing this, like you got to be a slow starter. You got to ease me into you, right? And so when you come off like at full volume, at full energy level, that's just a little bit much is all.
I heard someone say one time, maybe I'm not extra. Maybe you're just basic.
Maybe I am basic. And I like being basic. Maybe
I like being extra.
It's fine. It's fine.
Would you rather me come in all hi? And just be like,
it would be easier to take you if you ramp that up. If you started out kind of humdrum and got to normal level.
Like if I walk in, I was like, hi.
Yeah.
And then I go like this.
That's it. Slow volume turn. Slow.
But I've been up since 5:30. I've had my slow volume. By the time I get here and it's 9 a.m., I've been awake for hours. I've had my coffee.
I've been up since 4 and I had all quiet. My kid wakes up and he's quiet. My wife wakes up and she's quiet. Everything is quiet. And then it's like here. Oh my God. You
should come to my house in the mornings.
Totally
You'd
quiet.
Hate it.
Yeah. I like my quietness. I'm complaining now. So, all right, moving on. Do you watch the Trump
I missed it.
Really?
You're talking about the address?
Yeah.
I totally forgot about it.
Okay.
I'm so mad. Was it good?
You did not miss anything.
Oh, no.
You did not miss anything.
I mean, they're usually a pep rally for themselves. Whoever's in office.
Well,
it's a pep rally.
The lead up to this, there was a bunch of leaks as to what this is or was. So you have the shit that's happening in Venezuela. where, we took control of one of their oil tankers and took all the oil from them, and that didn't make them happy, right?
Yeah.
And there's been threats and rumors of invasions and taking over oil fields and, ousting Maduro, which, when you have those rumblings and you see the president coming out to speak, you're connecting the dots and saying, uh-oh, we're announcing an invasion of some kind. It's wartime. There's going to be something. Wasn't any of that, right?
Uh-huh.
But I blame the Democrats for the insanity of these stupid press conferences. I really do. Because Trump learned from his first term that if he ever wants to do something useful, he has to create a distraction in a different department to keep them pissed off and churning in an area that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And he's repeated the thing a million times, and they fall for it every single time.
Like Gulf of America?
Yeah.
We've been saying Gulf of America was something to keep us distracted.
100%. And he keeps doing it, and it keeps working, so why would he ever stop? So the blame is, once you recognize that you're being distracted on purpose, but you take the bait every time, it's on you. I could tell you, and you would admit that whole press conference basically was a brag fest, right? And there were some useful data points in there. Some of it, overblown, and some of it over complimentary. But again, that pep rally, getting Americans to be able to feel that things are turning the corner and things are getting better. The Democrats don't want people to feel like it's getting better. They want tragedy because that's great going into the midterms if everything sucks. So that goes incongruent with their messaging that costs are too high and he's ruining everything and whatever. So it was a political pep rally as well.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter if it's the Republicans or a Democrat. Anytime you see somebody give a State of the Union address or a whatever they're speaking, like it's look at all the good we did. Look at what's down, and this is down. And then the other side goes, that's because you're not measuring it properly, or you're lying. It's this. And round we go. It's always that. And that's probably why I was curious to see it. I wanted to see it. Unfortunately, I forgot all about it. But I wonder if I just sort of forgot about it because I'm like, I already know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Right. They're going to say, we're so great. And the other side's going to say, no, you're not. And how do you know the truth?
Yeah. But I mean, it was helpful to point out some of the things that were done because he does things so rapid fire. There were some truly good things that happened. Like one of the most exciting is the government employees that were let go and gotten out of the government system. There will be over 300,000 government employees that were flushed out into the marketplace and made available for the private sector. And in that, so Ohio is really benefiting from a manufacturing boom, right? Mm-hmm. And every customer, every person that operates business in here for the last 5-6 years has number one complaint is we can't find labor. We cannot find specialized people to hire. And I've told them every single time, you know what the government's doing? They want good jobs numbers. So what they do is they make up a bunch of jobs, give a paycheck to somebody. Yeah. They don't want to do anything. They don't have any value.
And they say, we create a job.
And then they starve that talent from the private industry that does have to accomplish things and do things. So that makes me happy. I mean, it's a little bit sad that somebody lost a cushy government job and now has to go into the regular workforce, but it's really great for economies because now we've got people that are hireable and we're not competing with the stupid government that, hey, I got a job for you. What's my job title? I don't know. Sit in a chair,
Yeah, we have, instead of just looking good on paper, we have something that's actually working and making
real
sense.
Job.
Yeah.
And we've had growth in manufacturing in Ohio above 2%, right? That is it was a retreating industry, right? And everybody thought we were just going to attract technology jobs, like manufacturing is not coming back. But when you have a bump in manufacturing and it's all because you put talent back into the pool, and at the same time, I mean, think you're building data centers, right?
Yeah.
And so what do data centers need? Concrete guys, contractors, people building buildings, putting infrastructure in, plumbers, electrical. Like that boom for every industry that it's connected to is amazing, especially for Ohio.
I never knew too. Are all manufacturers tax exempt for things? I recently talked to somebody. What company was it? I can't remember. They're local. And they're like, by the way, we're tax exempt. And I went, Okay. And they had the paperwork. And I said, why are they tax exempt? And somebody said, oh, they manufacture here. I was like,
so, okay. There are two things. If you run a manufacturer that is nonprofit, you can be tax exempt. Or if what you're buying is for resale, is tax exempt. So if I buy a product and then I use it to create another product, I'm not taxed on. That's just sales tax. They're taxed on profits, but just not sales.
Okay.
Tax.
Yeah, it was like, why? I don't get why that is, but that may have been the situation.
There you go.
Thanks for clearing that up.
You're welcome. So, but most of the bullet points of good things that people are experiencing have all downsides to them, because I don't think you can have an upside without a downside at this point. And, if you frame it one way where 300,000 people lost their job in government, you could say that that's a bad thing. You're creating unemployment.
Yeah.
Unless you felt that those were fake jobs anyway. And now that they go get real jobs, that's way more authentic in the economy.
Yeah. I feel like that's been the theme of 2025 is, oh my gosh, look at all the things you cut, lost, did away with, ruined. And it's like, if it wasn't real, we didn't mess it up.
Right.
It was just waste or fraud or not real, and we just shifted it.
Okay, so let's do some math here, because I know you love math and you were looking forward to that today.
I'm so screwed.
How do you feel about the $18.5 trillion that Trump is claiming came in because of tariffs? What's that number do to you when you hear that number?
$18
trillion.
Trillion.
$18.5 trillion came in because of the tariff policy.
Well, I guess I'd have to see if that's true.
Do you feel good about it?
It sounds like a good thing.
Okay.
Of course, I've been taught to question everything.
Well, let me explain to you how that number was arrived at and see how you feel about it afterwards.
Okay.
So the best thing would be if you added tariffs to other countries and then you collected on those tariffs, and then that money is in your bank account, right?
Right.
As not the money that's in the bank account collected on tariffs. That number is closer to 300 billion, not 18.5 trillion.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes more sense.
Now, what can be claimed is if I go to Canada and I say, I'm going to put tariffs on you, and then a company in Canada says, because you did the tariffs things, I don't want to pay the tariffs. I'm going to move my $1 billion facility to the United States, and you make a commitment to be able to bring that economic activity and spend that money in the United States. It happened as a result of the tariffs, so it's being claimed as part of the gain by tariffs. So it's not money I can give to anybody or that I can spend and pay down debt, because that's just value brought in because it was connected to the tariffs. But it's important to keep both the numbers are important. In the 90s, maybe it was the 80s. It was probably early 90s. Car manufacturers were threatened for tariffs, protectionism for the auto industry. And one of the offerings were that if you had Honda, for instance, and you imported every one of your cars, there was going to be a tariff on you. But if you moved Honda facilities here and manufactured it here, you'd be tariff free. You could then count those manufacturing facilities spending money here, right?
Yeah.
And creating those jobs and
so the trillion is the result of the tariffs or threat of tariffs.
The threat of tariffs caused me to move my business in here, and I spent but here's the only criticism of that is he is counting committed dollars, not spent dollars. So if he got somebody in the room and somebody from a chip manufacturer said, I'm bringing $4 billion to your country, the contract was signed and the commit 100%. So it didn't happen yet, but it's verbally committed in a press conference somewhere.
So why can't they say we have this and a potential to see this much more?
The problem is that you're carrying the headline, just like the Democrats use a headline to frame something a certain way in a negative light.
Yeah.
He's trying to frame something that is technically true when you dig through it. If I created a headline that was 4 paragraphs long, you wouldn't read it, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
After I explain it to you, you understand.
I've got $4 billion in IOUs, or you just say, I've got $4 billion.
Right. So that's why the question was, if we got 18.5 trillion, why didn't we pay down any of the $40 trillion in national debt? The answer is because that money is not sitting in an account.
We don't have it yet.
The only collected tariffs have been $300 billion from direct import imports.
And again, all of this still sounds like good things.
Right.
They're just sort of playing
Low-key
fast and
good,
loose
though.
with how they phrase it.
Good. So what,
Yeah.
I'm not looking at it things from the political perspective. I want to know like what's really happening. And I got a good sense after you figure out what's causing him to say those things, that it's still marginally better than if we didn't have $18 trillion worth of committed contracts. What the opposite of that would be. I'd prefer this one.
Yeah. And unfortunately, when he does sort of word it that way, what he's doing is leaving it for the other side to swoop in and say, you're lying. You're lying. We don't have this. And here's my proof, because they would have proof that we don't have it. It's coming. Maybe it's been promised. It's potential. It's not here yet. So that gives them then to be like, look, he lied. We don't have this. It's almost like you've got to be so careful how you word everything, but they want to look good, you know?
Well, no, that's a distraction too. If they can get them talking about the details of the thing, right, then that's another distraction that you can whip up over here. And everybody's got whiplash at this point where there's too many things to be outraged over, too many things to discuss and dissect. And so the public is just overwhelmed with all of that incoming information. And that's by design. I guarantee that's by design.
Yeah, I feel like, and I'm sure I'm not alone with feeling sort of jaded now, where any piece of information I hear, I question it. Even if it sounds great. Oh my gosh, that's great. I hope it's true.
But
Sounds great,
we
but I hope
promise
it's true.
that when this stuff happens, we will frame it out so that we have a really good relationship with what's actually happening. And then you can decide after you know the good information, what you're happy or sad about. I don't care if you're happy or sad, as long as you know the real information.
Yeah. So when you watched it, did you come away feeling like we're in a good place?
I knew every data point, but assembled in succession, I'm thinking, wow, they got a lot done in 11 months. Like that's pretty impressive that they got through all of that. Now there's some claims like ending wars, like
Julie's back.
Julie, we missed you. Julie,
were you on vacation? Or were you just sick of us? She's like,
I'm going with the latter.
Sick of your shit. But Julie says the debt of commerce has canceled millions
Department of
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, that makes more sense. The Department of Commerce has canceled millions of federal money intended for support of manufacturing in Ohio.
Good. Real, authentic industry. That's what we need. We need those industries to authentically build up operation. All these okay. I'm a Ronald Reagan guy, right? And the worst thing that you can do, as much as you want to, is have the government intervene, even with the most noble intentions. They F everything up. So if the government says we're not sending subsidies, I'm happy about that. That means it's not like the demand for industry is going to go down because the government doesn't start, dawdling in there. Is dawdling a word? Dawdling.
It is now.
They start
dawdling,
messing with, right? And they mess things up. So Julie, I'm happy about that.
Yeah, when I hear things like something got canceled and something got taken away and whatever, anytime someone tells me that, I ask them, why? Why? Do you know why? Do you know why they think it was a good idea? If it's just because they're greedy jerks, it doesn't fly with me. Like, I got to know that you know why.
But there has to be a grand strategy. And once you understand what Trump is trying to accomplish, everything that he's doing goes along with his promise strategy from the very beginning. One of the rare politicians that I feel like is still on course and hasn't had to deviate with a war of some kind that gets in the way and always has an excuse about, I wanted to do it, but XYZ.
And this happened.
Exactly. So I think they're doing it in record time. It might not be what you want him to do, but he's doing what he promised to do to the people who voted for him. So that's admirable.
At least more so than anyone else we've seen.
Yeah.
Jerry says it's the same as a company saying we lost 60 million this year when they still made 50 million, but it was 60 million less than the 110 million they made last year.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do statistics for a living. And you ever wonder, like, when somebody gives you a statistic in percentages rather than whole dollar amounts, and you can make anything either look really good or really bad depending on how you skew the proportions of the statistics.
Yeah.
And so I always want to know if they show me a percentage gain or loss, I want to go see real numbers. And if they give me real numbers, I want to see the percentage gain and loss, because there's always going to be a reason of a sleight of hand of happening with how they want you, excuse me, how they want you to feel about something.
Yeah, they can present it
For sure.
any way they want to make it sound good or bad.
Yeah, when I'm presented financials or whatever, I want to see all the financials every which way. It's not one data point that's going to make me happy or sad. I want to know every perspective on those numbers.
Yeah. Carter says, yay for Julie. I've missed her. See? Carter and Julie are friends. Julie says, I was kind of tired of having to worry about some existential quantum reality.
I take responsibility for that. I'm sorry.
I have enough to worry about in this reality. I hear you, Julie. I hear you. Sometimes you just have to like get away. I'll do that. Like I will exhaust myself. I'll get down like rabbit holes of YouTube videos of whatever topic it is. And then I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know what to believe anymore. And I thought this was good, but maybe this is bad. And and I went, I need to just step away for a minute.
So I used to do this on the radio all the time, and I always would do it, even though I know it's stupid. I would have the phone calls going crazy, lines filling up left and right, and somebody would say something that would trigger a little light bulb in my head that I want to talk about really bad, but I know it's a really math-heavy, details-oriented topic. And I would take the bait every time, and I would go down that path, and I would watch phone calls drop off. And I just heard listeners turning off the radio.
Everyone
when I
goes
got
cross-eyed.
But I wanted to talk about it, so I did.
Yes.
So Julie, thank you for coming back after I beat you up a little bit with quantum topics.
And again, we've made this point many times too. But again, let the record show how addicted we are to fighting as a species, as Americans, as whatever. Any other topic we discuss, anything, just does not get as much traction or feedback. But you go political, where we are the most polarized and we love to fight each other and we love negative news and we love to hear something we disagree with so that we can stick it to someone. That is what gets comment after comment after comment. Like we have been trained to be that way in this country. And if you even try to break it, can't be done. Look at Julie. We didn't hear from Julie for what, a week or more? Mm-hmm. You start talking about Trump and here comes Julie. And that's not a bad thing on Julie. That's everybody.
Well, can I tell you that this proves quantum entanglement, because Julie was connected to the show and she knew when the information she found pleasing was going to be presented. So Thank you, Julie, for proving my quantum entanglement theory.
Yeah. I mean, you can't even, we could talk about health, but then that'll be buried in your algorithm. You won't hear it. We could talk about quantum reality and the multiverse and nobody cares. We could talk about whatever and everyone's like, that, but you're like, hey, Trump did this. What?
That's what the internet wants.
Yep. They want to fight.
Yeah.
They want to get mad.
That's cool. I enjoy the fight, especially with people like Carter and Julie and Jerry, all these normies that come through here and throw their 2 cents. I love that.
Normies. I have a question, guys, and this is for all the people commenting. Do you get offended when Joe calls you a normie? Is that an offense? Do you mean that to be an offensive term?
No.
I feel like you do.
No, I'm not looking to offend anybody.
Does anyone feel offended, personally attacked by Joe Danyi being called a normie?
Do you feel like you're a normie?
Yes.
Okay.
But I feel like when you say it, it's meant to be a cut down.
So it's not really a cut down. It's sort of like a measurement. Like I have a way of testing if I'm dealing with a person who's crazy or someone who's normal. Like I am crazy, right? And I could put it in front of you and say, all right, she checks all the boxes that she holds this characteristic, this characteristic, this characteristic. And I'm like, yep. She's normal. So I got to be more delicate. I'll be more sensitive. But just calling you a normie has shown my insensitive ways and methods.
Yeah. Julie says, I think it is a little derogatory.
Okay.
So you're saying basically what it is like we joke around, we say you're basically a robot and you're AI.
Yes. Multi-dimensional thinking versus single dimensional or small little bits of second dimensional
thinking. There's the derogatory.
Okay.
But in your brain, you're almost like this screen that's like, oh, human, treat this way.
Right.
Whereas you're like, not human.
And it, I'm probably phrasing it so it sounds more condescending than it's meant to be. It's just a measurement. It's just a measurement. See, here's the thing. Like we on a regular basis, we get appalled, right? When we're not surrounded by truth. But then truth visits you, and it's not something you like to hear, and all of a sudden you're outraged over the thing that you basically begged for.
Do you ever realize, like we've talked before about how you're more logical, I'm more emotional. Sometimes you'll say something and I'll take it a certain way and you maybe meant it a different way. Do you recognize when I go,
sure?
Like, do you say, she took that in a different way? I think
you figure it out that you need to dig a little bit more. That's your responsibility, not mine. I see it happening, and I'm not going to alter it to make it less truthful or more palatable. I'm just going to lay it out there.
Let's say I'm the normie, you're talking to a normie,
yes.
and you see on the normie's face feedback, a social cue that went, I don't think they grasped what I just said. It's their responsibility to understand and think about it rather than yours to change how you say it.
Say something like, I didn't understand that. Can you explain in more detail? That's what, inquiry, curiosity.
Like if I'm saying something to you,
yes,
and you are just glazed over, like,
right.
what
I would
the hell
say,
are you talking
can you
about?
re-explain that in a way that I can understand, because I didn't understand.
But I could also see that social cue and go, let me put it this way. Blah, blah, and I can change it too. But you're like,
if it matters, I will explain, because it's important that you get the details. If it's the bullshit that we do here, like, it didn't matter. If you didn't get it, we'll move right on. It's no big deal.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about situations where if it mattered, and even that I think can be different. What if I think it matters and you think it doesn't?
Then
Who
you
wins?
ask. That's your curiosity. Here's your social cue. If you want to know something, ask, and I'll tell you. How about that?
Don't be passive aggressive.
Yeah, there you go.
I like
it's easier that way.
Carter says maybe Joe is an abnormie.
I 100% accept the abnormie, and it's an intentional thing. Trying to be a rebel, breaking status quos mean that you have to have different means of thinking and methods, and I do that on purpose so that I'm not stuck in the trough of norminess. I just don't want to be there. I hate it there.
Hate the norminess. Yeah. Jerry says, totally unoffended as a normie by Joe, as he is the abnormal.
100%.
I am offended when I pay someone a compliment and then it is assumed I have a crush on them. LOL. Yeah, I can relate to that. Can you relate to that? You ever feel like you can't just be nice or friendly because it almost gets mistaken as, oh, you must like, it sounds very elementary school. It sounds very like schoolyard, but I've seen that in adulthood where everyone's like, oh, you got to be careful with the flirting. And it's like, the what?
All right. So tell me this. I'm walking through the grocery store and a lady on the left is picking out some milk, checking the dates. Mm-hmm. She had really nice hair, beautiful hair. And I said, I just wanted to let you know your hair is beautiful. And I walked on.
That's nice.
She lit up like a freaking Christmas tree, having been paid that compliment.
I bet.
And sure, if I phrased it different or I talked in a scary voice or whatever,
I gave a weird look and stared.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Can I sniff some? That would be bad, right?
I smell it.
Yeah, but it was authentic. It's what occurred to me, and I said the thing that occurred to me. I won't say it if I don't believe it or do it for the sake of whatever, because it's just I have to be authentic no matter where I am. But I can see in those respects, was I flirting with her? Would my wife be mad because I complimented another woman on her hair? I'm sure she would feel great about it. And I probably shouldn't say it publicly, and so she can watch this later and be mad at me for complimenting.
You did what?
Right. But again, to me, it's not flirtation. And
I think tone, body language all plays into that. Like, I have felt complimented by someone before, and it felt like a genuine compliment that wasn't weird in any way. And I've also been complimented that felt very creepy. And it's like, do you continue to stare at them after you said it, or do you move on? You sounds like you said it and moved on. Mm-hmm. Non-threatening, non-weird. But if they're standing there like after, then you're like, can you walk away now? Like, stop looking at me. You made it weird.
Honestly, I got more awkward than she did, because after I said it, I picked up my pace and got away from her faster. It made me feel
you were like a little kid that went over and they're like,
you look at
I like your hair.
Exactly.
Now, do you compliment men?
Yes.
Randomly, like a strange man? You'd just be like, hey, I like your whatever.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'll do that like with a woman sometimes. I saw this woman one time and I loved everything about her. cute outfit, cute shoes, very stylish. Like, oh, I couldn't even pick one thing. And so I went up to her and I just said, I don't mean to be weird, but you just look so cute. I love everything about this. Like, I love your outfit, your shoes. You're so cute. And she's like, thank you. Now, had a man said that, you got to watch how you say it, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I don't buy in, even if there are double standards or whatever. I just say what's truthful and let the chips fall where they may.
Have you ever said something in a complimentary way and the woman did give you sass, like she thought you were a creeper, and you're like, I wasn't trying to be a creeper?
I don't do it often, so it doesn't, probably my sample size
Yeah.
is too small to really get a good bearing. I'm sure it would happen if I did it all the time, but it's only things that really occur to me make me say something.
Yeah.
Like that.
If there's one thing I think all men should know, and I think they're catching on, you don't ever say to a woman, whether you're joking or not, you will get flack if you look at a woman sitting somewhere and you go, hey, why don't you smile? Hey, you should smile. I think men think that that's a playful banter, and it's very risky. I've had that happen to me one time because normally I'm always smiling. No one has ever had to say you should smile more to me. I just do. But one time I was pregnant and very nauseated and not feeling well and sitting somewhere. And one of these douche canoes was like, hey, why don't you smile? And I was like, you want to die today? Like, what are we doing here? I didn't say that, but I was just like, don't you know you don't ever say that to a woman? Because if she's not, there's probably a reason, and you're going to get punched in the throat. So
Okay.
little heads up for future reference. Don't ever say that to a woman. You can say you have a nice smile, or I really like your smile.
Well, it would be more likely a movie quote. Like I would say, you smile a lot, right? And then you would say something like,
Oh, really? My dog just died.
Smiling's my favorite.
Smiling's my favorite. I love to smile. Smiling's my
Exactly.
favorite. Yeah.
That's the likely scenario.
Let's see. Carter says, I want Julie to know, for as much as I support Trump, his remarks about Rob Reiner was over the top and infuriated me. Yep. Yeah.
And Carter has been 100% consistent on the philosophies of how we talk about and treat and acknowledge the death of human beings.
Yeah. Especially a horrific, tragic death.
Yeah.
If it were just somebody aged, they became a very old, miserable person and died, it's still not nice to say something. But somebody was murdered horrifically. For the love of God, don't say anything. Like, why? Why would you?
Well, if we're keeping score, I didn't have a single person on any social media that I had to ban or block because of an insensitive comment about Rob Reiner. I think I blocked 2 people when the Charlie Kirk things happened, but there were probably 20 that were on the border. So I will tell you, I give Republicans a big check mark. No, everyone I respected behaved appropriately.
Yeah, I agree. I don't love the idea of unfriending people or blocking just because they hold a different viewpoint than you. But I went on a bye rampage.
Yeah, I just don't want to see your shit anymore.
Yeah.
That's
if somebody said something disgusting about a man who was just assassinated in front of his family, I don't need to know you. Like, they're probably not really close to me anyways. It's probably just a connection on social media. At the very least, I unfollowed, but typically I was just like, I don't want to be connected to you.
In Congress, the House passed one of the bans on the transgender surgeries and pharmaceuticals that could be applied to people who are under 18, and it passed. It's going to the Senate. What are your feelings on what we subjected children to in our little social experiment with gender, whatever it was?
It's so scary. It's so scary. I question why when people say, well, we have all these kids that are trans and we have all these kids identifying differently and we've got to be, why do we suddenly have all these? And don't give me they're just now more comfortable talking about it. No, something happened that we have seen such an increase in this. We have seen an increase in parents not questioning why. If a child says, I'm this, I think this, there's no more, why do you say that? Why do you feel that? Maybe let's see if it changes in a different direction soon. It was just so accepted that I want to know why. And the idea that you would physically and permanently alter a child for that is just insanity to me. Absolute insanity. Even if you wanted to go ahead and entertain that. Hey, they feel this way. They want to be called by this name. And you're like, let's experiment. Let's go with this. Okay, go right ahead. Fine. But if you take that child and you forever alter their body, that's insane. That's insane.
Let's personalize it. Let's pretend that one of your kids, right, hit a rough stage where they had a bunch of confusion about who they were and trying to figure things out. And society is showing these examples of how other people are dealing with their confusions and the social contagion aspect where we're emulating ways of dealing with a hard time. You as a mom, if one of your kids came to you and said, Mom, I think I am in the wrong body. I'm of the wrong gender. What should I do? How would you handle that as a parent?
There would be a lot of discussions, like discuss this with me, maybe a professional. As far as mental health counseling goes, there would be like, let's look into this. Why do you feel that way? What are some things you're experiencing? Have you been talking to anyone else about this? Have you seen anyone else going through this? Like, there would be a lot more information needed before I said, oh, okay, you're right. You know, like, let's dive into this somehow. And we're not going to do anything until there is more discussion.
I think there's a bunch of categories. And I think when you lump all kids into that same category, you're going to make really bad mistakes. And, you know, I think, you know, the fair part of the argument, the social contagion, was the most dangerous part. So if you have a kid that's confused, maybe they're shunned at school, they don't have many friends, they see this group of kids that are doing that, they find acceptance if they believe a certain thing. And now all of a sudden, you know, change it from transgender or gender confusion to like if one group of people wore leather jackets, and if you wore a leather jacket, you would be accepted into that group and they would be friends. And you felt bad being on the outside, but it's a way of joining into a group. You can see a child's brain would be willing to slap on the jackets for them to get social acceptance. And those should be carved out, because I think every kid experiences alienation at one point in every kid's life.
Look at the madness that ensued with Stanley Cups. What was it, earlier this year or whenever, when then all of a sudden every kid had to have a Stanley.
Right.
You didn't give two shits about what your water bottle or cup was until it was a craze.
Right.
Now we have this innate desire to fit in and to be accepted and to not be the odd man out. And people were putting down large amounts of money just to feel accepted. And you don't think we're doing that when it comes to someone's sexuality or feelings or what they want to make themselves look like to their social group?
And then you have the true, probably evil version of this, where parental reinforcements of this. And I know 3 families that I'm close to. And I know that in their heart of hearts, they were hoping and reinforcing that their kids were of a different persuasion. Okay. And I can see in my brain, they were, you know, leaving clues that led their kids, whether or not it's the media that they were exposed to or the conversations they had. So when it came time that if their kid ever hit a confusing time, that would be fresh in their brain as something that they would choose. And those are the families where, like, you know, I had a girl and boy, right? And my boy was a girl, and now my girl was a boy, and they switched places. And I'm like, what is the likelihood of something that doesn't visit everyone? It's a low percentage chance, but both your kids suffered from that same thing. I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, there's an actress, I think it's Cynthia Nixon, who said all of my kids are trans. And I'm like,
not
you
likely.
Don't find that odd?
Yeah, so that is
all of them?
That's abuse as far as I'm concerned, because that was a parent dabbling and almost wearing it as a badge of honor.
Yeah, the parent wants to be an ally so badly that they're like, look at me and I relate to you and I'm accepting of this. And it's like, so you want to be accepted and look a certain way, so you're pushing it out onto others so that you can look a certain way.
Yeah, and the sicknesses, this happens of all time where, a parent will get attention because their kid's sick, so they'll keep them in a sick state so they keep getting attention. It's another social contagion.
Yeah.
Nobody's paying attention to me. I live a boring life. I get all of this sympathy and all of this attention over here. So let me do something that's not, poisoning my child and keeping them in bed. Let's do something that's a little safer by transitioning them into a different gender. And that's a parental sickness there.
Yeah. And I don't really even understand why the community that is actually that way, that does actually identify a certain way, would want this. You would think they would be like, what are you all doing? You're shining a bad light on those that are authentic to this so that you can get some attention from it or look a certain way. Like, this isn't a joke. This is how I actually feel and how things I'm dealing with that have been a very, very difficult process. And you're just acting like, oh, it's normal because it should be normal and it should be this and it should be that. If I was someone that for years felt oppressed and now you all just get to be praised for it, like I might feel some kind of way about that.
Kind of ruined it a little bit. And my third category, the one that is the most true and authentic, is when there is no, I knew two people growing up and they were both boys. They were both very feminine, right? They did not have, their parents and their guardians were not open to the fact that they were of a different gender, of a different sexual preference. And their social circles were also not reinforcing that. So they were behaving exactly opposite to any benefit. So I felt that was very true because that decision wasn't anything that would benefit them. It was the hardest version of all of that. Now, one of those guys ended up marrying a woman, and he's just a feminine dude, and he has 3 kids, and he lived a normal life. Deep down, I know that if he would have entertained that, he probably could have gone down that road very easily. And I know the other one, exactly what I thought was going to happen, ended up even being able to, once high school was done and once he was away from parents, he got to really dive into what truly made him happy, and he found happiness in, marrying a guy. And both of them, I think, happened in the most safe and healthy trajectories because it was natural. Nobody forced it. There wasn't a benefit. It wasn't a social contagion. That was a person just spending years and years discovering who they really were, and they bought into whoever they wanted to be.
Yeah, it was taken seriously.
Yeah.
It was looked into. I went to high school with a boy that people even kind of teased throughout school. And they would call him gay and this and that. He would fight back and no, I'm not. And for years, he acted like he had a crush on me. And finally, after high school, he came out and I'm gay. And I was like, what's the deal? Like, years you did. I mean, he would put a rose on my car and he would tell people all these things. I was like, why did you act so much like you liked me? And he was like, I was embarrassed. I didn't want anyone to know. I thought maybe I could change. And if I just acted like I liked girls and stuff, like that's authentic. That's who he was. And you see that in numerous examples. So it's so infuriating, I would think, to just have someone be like, today I think I'll act like I like girls. No, I think I'll act like I like boys. No, I think I'll blah, blah, blah. And there's no thought process. It's trendy. If it feels like you're doing it because it's trendy, that's annoying. That's not real. And if I were someone who were really in it, that would piss me off.
Yeah. But the social pressures have gone in the other directions. I don't feel it was fair if somebody's trying to discover themselves, the social pressures more for what is normal, and just allowing people to kind of discover who they are and just doing it authentically and trying to figure out who they are without being condemned and being mocked and whatever. And then the other side of it, where it was doing the same thing, just on the other side. Now it's being romanticized and being that way. And it's almost being encouraged. Where Joe stays is on the meh side. I don't care what you do. As long as you're not hurting me and affecting and trying to tell me what to do, I'll give 2 shits.
Yeah. And don't hurt kids.
Don't hurt kids. So that was the most important part of that ban, is that it allows more time to go by for things to be figured out. I think we are adopting, we are more understanding, and maybe that's what this bought us. All of this craziness bought us a little bit more understanding, because at least it's not at its most absurd level. It gives parents the time to be able to ferret out and find out which is real and which one is just socially pressured to do a certain thing. And if you get to 19 years old and you went through all of the discovery process and you still feel the same way, even after all the environmental stuff has been moved, then there you go. There's your drugs. There's your assignment surgeries. There's everything you need. And I think the people who are advocating for this are putting pressure to do it before kids have really gone through that process. They want to, it's almost like a car salesman that don't want you to leave and go do other things and maybe get talked out of buying the car. The impulsive do it right now before you change your mind kind of thing.
Yeah. Because we've all heard their brain's not even done growing.
Right.
I don't think your brain stops growing till like, it's after 19, I think. I can't remember what age. It's physically impossible for you to understand the repercussions and fully know what you want. You hear all these people like, oh no, if your child says this, we need to believe them. We need to believe our kids. No, you don't. The kid doesn't know. The kid physically can't know. His brain or her brain is changing. There is a huge chance this could be a phase that they grow out of. And if you alter them and then they grow out of it, how do you think that's going to feel? When we scare these parents. If you don't listen to them, if you don't do this, they could harm themselves. Do you not think that'll be the case if I did something that changed them forever? If I acted on everything my child really, really, really wanted, oh my God. And then I see 2 weeks later, it's like they don't care anymore. Can you imagine doing that with something life altering? Yeah. It's insanity. And my daughter was watching a show the other day and I just about hit the roof. Have you ever watched the show Dance Moms?
Yeah.
So, it's basically like Jerry Springer. It's a bunch of grown women acting like children and they're fighting and they have young girls that are in a dance competition and class and whatnot. Well, they had a new choreographer teaching the girls. And I walk in the room and I start hearing, I'm like, what are they doing? The choreographer did a whole choreographed routine for a show about transgenders entering restrooms. And you could hear her like, do this move. This is welcoming him into the women's room. Let's welcome them. And I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? And then one little girl was getting yelled at her mom because she said she didn't want to do it. I don't want to do this dance. Well, you have a little friend who's trans. I guess you're gonna be mean to them. Why don't you explain to them why you won't do this dance and you're gonna hurt their feelings? And I went, what the hell are you watching? And it has nothing to do with the idea of men and women transitioning in restrooms. Put that aside. These are kids. These were kids you were doing this to. And I just looked at my daughter and I was like, do you understand how wildly inappropriate this is? Like, turn this shit off. Mm-hmm. These are children that they're like grooming to push their own agenda. And it was like, oh, you're going to be unacceptable. No. I'll accept you all day long when I know it's authentic. And when you are old enough to make that decision, I'll do whatever you need for support. These are children, young children, and you're grooming them.
100%. Couldn't have said it any better. I'm just thankful. Again, maybe we had to go through that to get to a more, adopting society where we're willing to tolerate more, and it had to get to an absurd level before we get back to some kind of mean. When I don't consider anything but heterosexual the normal, right? So if there is a default setting on people, I would wait until the brain is done developing and environmental factors have had a chance to change. Like if somebody was in one school, but they've been in 3 different schools and some setting evolved, right? But it had nothing to do with the people they were around or the house they lived in or the surrounding factors. Yeah. Then I treat that as more scientifically they're something about them and not things that they've adopted from those environments. And I don't think, look at your kid, how many different houses they lived in, how many school districts they've been, how many friend groups have they been a part of, how many family members have they had. You pick them up and take them in adulthood and they go get a job and they move into a different house and they're different school, different peer groups. Now you can compare what they were when they were in this environment, like and you don't want to alter a kid's biology and hurt them, injure them.
Yeah.
If down the road when they're 19, they're like, the only reason I was that way is because I was there with Bob, and it was at this school, and the TV shows that I were watching were, embracing that kind of stuff. You don't want that to be a permanent effect.
Yeah. And when they try to use the scare tactic of your child might harm themselves if you don't do this, then your child has far bigger issues to address. We've all wanted to be accepted. We've all seen a peer group that we wanted to be a part of, and we want to act like them, and we want to have what they have. But if it gets to the point that if I can't be with them, I'm going to hurt myself, you've got a much bigger problem than the problem of wanting to be accepted.
They got divisions and whole disciplines of psychology that is meant to deal with people who will blackmail or want to off themselves if they're in a certain state of mind. And I'm telling you, I had a really hard upbringing. All right. And I am very familiar with dark thoughts and trying to traverse it on my own and trying to ask adults for help that were equally as clueless as I was. And that was infuriating. I always felt like adults should know enough to be able to guide me, and none of them freaking did. So I figured it out myself. So I know that there are kids out there that are in a bad spot because of what they're experiencing. But those sciences need to get much, much better at knowing more to be able to help kids the way that I wish I would have been helped.
Yeah. I feel like anybody that wants to push something that drastic and life altering onto a child, they themselves have mental health issues. Yeah. Like they're almost projecting, I think.
100%.
Carter says, Kelin's hair looks very nice. Thank you, Carter. I thought it looked like crap, so I appreciate that.
Suck up.
Carter is my friend. Julie says, why not compliment people whenever you get the chance? Kindness is dying. Thanks for that acknowledgement, Carter. I will never get your fascination with Trump, but I believe you are a good human being. I feel
this is like a love fest.
Carter says, not fascinated with the man, more like his policies. Julie says, I don't think we can lump trans with gay. I couldn't get my ears pierced until I was 18, so no to gender surgery before adulthood. Now, gay is a different thing.
Well, I think a lot of I'm not comfortable in my body are just confused gay people. I bet you a lot of those transitioners just find out that they were gay all along, but they get misclassified, and then they do mutilation to your body or hormonally change. And, maybe put that as a first, curiosity kind of
Could
thing.
It also be, some people have said, could it be another form of body dysmorphia?
Could be.
Anybody who has suffered from body dysmorphia knows there is a very real disconnect with the brain and what you see in your body. Like people that have severe anorexia or different types of body dysmorphia can look in a mirror and see what's not there. They are literally seeing imperfections and size that is not accurate to what they physically are.
Right.
Why would we not automatically say then, you feel disconnected from your body, something else is going on here? Yeah. There is some disconnect with that. But it's like, we just say, oh, okay. Okay, you must be.
It was in the book as body dysmorphia for way longer than it wasn't.
Yeah.
And it's only because some of the sciences became activist sciences, and if they had an unpopular treatment or diagnosis, then they were not very popular, and they could have been ostracized. They could be thrown out of their livelihood. Now, would you take a risk in saying truth if it's very politically unpopular and you can lose your livelihood for saying what you know to be true? I wouldn't do it. So the social pressures on where the science leads us. If my whole goal is just allow people to find who they are, what their talents are, and the pursuit of happiness, and nothing else gets in that way, no matter what that truth is. So if you come across and I'm mad because, I can't pay my rent and it's really hurting me inside, and my truth was that I wanted to gamble, you can come along and say, hey, I got your answer, right?
Yeah.
You gamble. You don't have rent money. Not having rent money makes you sad. Let's try different things. I'm going to coach you into making better decisions and whatnot. But even on the psychological side, like, why are you perceiving things differently than other people? Do you have chemical imbalances? Do you have different nutrition? Do you have different exercise? Are you around the different social circles? There are people that get broken just because of how their upbringing is. And if we knew more about what controls the mind, and, doctors would argue with me that even if you knew that stuff, who's going to be even listen to it? It's a complicated thing. And so if we can't treat it with a pharmaceutical, then we're not going to spend all the time and invest in people for years and years to try to get them to discover where their real happiness is without all that brokenness. Like, it's not an easy fix. And so it's easier to just assign it to one of these social things rather than science things.
How do you feel about the issue of someone claiming to be trans and then going into a restroom or locker room of the opposite sex?
I put it in the same category as public schools, right? Public schools basically don't really do a good job of insulating my kid from things that I don't really want them to know or learn about until I'm ready to learn and tell them about it, right? I'm the instructor here. You're academics. You can teach them math and histories and whatever, fine. Get them data and have them memorize. Okay. But it's the other stuff that they get exposure to that I want to say in. Right.
Yeah.
And so when you have that, we're too permissive to indoctrinating into ideologies, and we think we're doing a service to be able to do that rather than it just be data points.
Yeah. How about the whole, when you said that they were kind of doing away with something, does that include the idea that a school can't help a child transition and not tell the parents?
Right. Why should they be involved in that anyway?
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
I was like, holy hell. Why is that okay? I mean, for years we've had things like, you're not allowed to discipline a kid in a certain way. That's the parent's job. But you can do this?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
We're exiting an era of total weirdness, unreasonable, and that's why there was so much backlash against it.
Yeah.
And with this ban, it may push that back up to the top of the conversation pile for a little while. And I hope that we just let all of the air out of that balloon, get back to let's treat everybody with respect and dignity, help anybody that we can come in contact, be kind to people, no judgment. Like, if somebody needs help, cool, judge them all you want. But walking down the aisle at the grocery store and thinking your opinion that's going to do damage to another person is warranted in the moment, keep it to yourself, MFer.
Yeah, if I'm walking through a grocery store and I see what appears to be a grown man in women's clothing and heels and some makeup on and just living his life, okay, you're not hurting anyone. You're an adult. If you're feeling good, you're feeling good. You do you. But the moment you start letting kids change their bodies and you push that idea on them, and then you want to go into their restrooms and you want to blah, blah, blah. Now you're not just doing you. Now you're trying to affect other people. And now don't be surprised if other people have a say.
Yeah. If the norm is the default, that's where schools need to live. And anything that's over and above that, let it be something that is taught at home. So like when especially when the things were happening like at Target where they were, using whatever, there was always a unisex. So they gave you the option to bail out of the going in the restroom. But if there was a threat that there was going to be someone of a different gender, am I going to send a 10-year-old to use the restroom by themselves when they might be exploring with things that I would consider dangerous? No, we're going to go over the unisex and I'm going to say, hey, Ryan, stay away from people in general because they're batshit crazy right now.
Yeah.
And let's let this work out of the system before we start trusting others again.
Did your kid ever have an issue in a school that really made you mad? Like, did your school ever do something with your child that you were like, not cool?
My kid argues better than I do. There is nothing that ever happened that he didn't himself stand up for himself. He is a badass.
I just recently found out about something that happened when my daughter was in preschool.
Change some details because we're not going to out anybody.
I'm very, very, very angry about this.
Okay.
This was years ago. There's nothing I can do. But my kids were in a public daycare facility when I went back to work. So they were, again, this was probably like preschool-ish age. And they were in a daycare. And I grew up, my parents always said, don't ever let another adult put their hands on you. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you deserve it. If you deserve discipline, the school can call me. I will discipline you. And I got spanked as a kid. But they never wanted someone else to do that. And I grew up with the same mindset. No adult is going to put their hands on my kid. Send them to me and I'll whip their ass, But But this daycare facility was even like, it's not even an issue. We don't even have the policy. No teacher here is ever going to put their hands on a child. My daughter, just maybe a month ago, told us, she's like, when I was there, a teacher spanked me. And I said, what? And she's like, there were cameras in the school. So the woman took her, because my daughter went through a phase of having pretty wild fits. I'll give them that. Took her to the bathroom where there were no cameras and said pretty hard, hit her a few times. And I was like, what happened? She's like, my daughter's like, well, I cried harder and got real upset. And Kira's like, she was like, I didn't know to tell you. She was little. She didn't say anything. School didn't know. Teacher obviously isn't going to say anything. And I just found this out. And I'm like, I was fuming. I want to call this school. This was years ago. Person's probably not even, they're going to be like, I'm sorry, what? Who did what? How many years ago? There's nothing I can do now. And I am had I known that happened back then, I don't even know what I would have done.
Well, here's what we can do. There's still time.
Okay.
So you find out what their name is.
The teacher?
The teacher's name. Give me as much information.
She doesn't even know.
We can find that out, right?
Okay, yeah.
You're going to tell Jersey Joe. That's my gangster name.
Jersey Joe.
I'm Jersey Joe. And I will take said teacher in the unisex bathroom, and I will do complete retribution. And I will give the spankings that they now need. So you just let me know.
And I don't even care. Like, this person thinks they were in the right, because I saw my daughter had total meltdowns a couple of times there, to where they would call us or they would say, by the way, she had a total freak out again. We don't know what was causing this. It was a phase she went through where she had total freakouts.
When you were young, did you have communal punishments where like aunts and uncles and grandparents were allowed to spank the crap out of you?
No.
Friends, like if you were misbehaving, they could take a load on you?
No.
Yeah.
My parents said, nobody hits my kid.
Yeah.
You can say something by all means.
When I was young, less than 10 years old, that was very common. I don't care if you were at a friend's house, if you're at a family gathering, if you misbehaved, you got it from whoever adult was around.
Yeah.
So you couldn't escape it. Just because your parents were around did not matter. You were going to get hit into oblivion.
Spanked. And
there were some uncles that like took a lot of pleasure in being able to wail on you. Not as, way harder than your parents would have.
That's terrible.
Would have. Yeah.
Did this happen to you?
I can't. This is anonymous. I'm now speaking from
God,
hypothetical territory.
So much.
But think about how more well-behaved children were, because they knew that it could be coming from anybody, so they had way less misbehavior.
But my kids knew if somebody said, "Keep this up," and I'm going to tell your parents, they'd be like, "Oh."
Well, there was a period where you'd get your ass beat when you got home. Think about how many parents do nothing about it. And so kids escape all punishment, and then you have more misbehavior. So there's a balance between those two, right?
Yeah.
If you saw, you're walking through the grocery store and there's some kid that is misbehaving in the middle of the grocery store. You don't even freaking know them, right?
Yeah.
Do you just annoyingly walk by, or do you tell the kid to shut up and behave?
I mean, I'm probably going to annoyingly walk by, but I might shoot him a look or something. I am going to feel some kind of way about it, but I can't put my hands on them. And who am I to interject?
Well, these are just words. If you're like, hey, buddy, you should probably stop screaming here in a public place, and then walk on by. There's nothing inappropriate in that.
Or passive. I can be a bit passive aggressive and look at my own kid and be like, see, that's not how we behave in public.
Dude, all this passive aggressive
shame them.
Stuff.
That's shaming them.
Okay, I'll give it to
now
you.
You don't know
it's
if
better than saying nothing.
Issue.
I will give you that.
Yeah.
Many people blame the schools for turning their heads, but people do not realize the state and federal guidelines that school administrators and teachers are mandated to are handcuffing them to not get involved. The breakdown of the home is truly data-driven to prove the cause for children to rebel from what has and should always be the norm.
Yeah. And I think you can tell, I guess I shouldn't say that. I've never actually worked in a school or daycare facility. But I've seen kids that you can tell they get nothing at home as far as consequences, discipline, anything. And then you see kids that they will act out, but if your parent knew, like your parent is not okay with this, but kids still act out
Right.
sometimes. So yeah, I could see it be incredibly frustrating for a education professional to be like, I'm constantly dealing with these outbursts and this kid that's misbehaving, and I know their parent doesn't give two craps. Versus, I know their parent is not okay with this, but this kid's going through something. And if there is a clear set boundary of do not, under any circumstances, put your hand on a child that is not yours, and you do, then I should be allowed to put my hands on you. That's just insanity. Julie says, OMG, I would be livid. Yeah. I'm so angry about this. Mm-hmm. I'm so angry. It was a little kid, a little girl, and you knew what you were doing was wrong because you took her to the bathroom to do it. Mm-hmm. I'm so angry at this.
Jersey Joe invitation wide open.
Person.
Wide open.
I mean, no, we're not.
We should say these things publicly. Yeah.
You know what movie
I'm
that is?
Not going to do
the
that.
Breakup. Yeah, don't. I don't want you to do it. Gotcha. Won't do anything. No, I really don't. I don't want you to do anything. Keep saying it. I gotcha. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. News of Dan Bongino making his exit from his department, the FBI. He's FBI director, right? Or is that I don't know. Anyway, Dan Bongino is making his exit.
Listen,
surprise,
is this the
shock.
guy? Is this the guy with the eye patch?
No, that's Dan Crenshaw. Dan Bongino was a podcaster, conservative commentary, the guy, opinion guy. But anyway, he got a FBI position. He's a badass. He's got tattoos. He looks like a Marine. Like the dude is.
Why can't I picture this person?
Let me bring up.
Because I just saw a podcast talking about some shady things Crenshaw is accused of, but. Oh, yeah. Okay. I know who that is.
Yeah.
Dan Bongino. Yeah, I've seen.
Anyway, making his exit. And are you surprised? Does that concern you when
I'll be honest, I didn't even know.
Okay.
So what's going on with him?
In January, he's now served 1 year and he's going to go back to his radio host duties with wherever he was before.
Why?
It's a good question.
Was he let go? Was he encouraged
he just
to
resigned.
leave?
Just
I'm just done.
Okay, so when you're in an administration, that's hard work. When you're in a Trump administration, that's even harder work.
Yeah.
Right? And so I want to know, was there something that he had exposure to or was involved in that he said, I'm freaking out. This is too much even for me. This isn't above board. I care about my reputation. And he'll never say those things. He will quietly, but that's what I want to know. If he's really just fed up with it, or he's like, I was making a ton of money over here. I was beloved by the fans that I had, and I came here. I make way less money, and now everybody freaking hates me.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, I'll give you a year and then find somebody to replace me.
I could do something more lighthearted and make more money, or he can get threatened every day for less money.
Yeah. But I do like the dude. He's interesting. He's probably not he and I could probably not have a great political conversation because he's very captured in his ideals as a conservative. So it would just be all conservative all the time. So
he's like way right.
My opinion of him is that he's way right. I can't put him on that grid because my only exposure to him, I didn't listen to him. I wasn't a fan of his. I listened when he would talk during the confirmation hearings, and he seemed, duty bound. He was going to do his thing, and I trusted the fact that he was going to be more hardcore than the previous FBI that we were used to. And that's as far as I would take it.
Yeah, there are people I have found that I kind of like, even if I disagree with them. Like, you know who Michael Knowles is?
Yeah.
I really enjoy watching Michael Knowles.
Do you really?
I do. I don't know why. I do. He's funny. I like his humor. He makes good points. But he'll say something sometimes, and I was like, I just don't agree with that, or I don't think that's true. I don't like that, and I'll keep watching. And sometimes I really agree with him. Sometimes I don't.
See, those are the funnest people to talk with, and that's why if you have a captured person, you're never going to be able to talk about anything because it's just going to be what you already know about them. So I want to ask all of our listeners here. I want you to give me a rating here, 0 to 10. If I said 10 things, random things all over the some political, some social. Of those 10 things, how many of them do you think you might agree with me on or disagree with me on? Do the first rating. If I said 10 random things, what's the likelihood that you'd agree versus disagree ratio?
10 random things of any subject matter.
I'm just all over it. The next 10 things that come out of my mouth, how likely are you to agree with me? Of those 10, 1, 9, 6.
I feel like I'm leaning towards 50-50. I feel like I would probably agree with maybe 5 things and disagree with 5 things.
Now, would the gradient would be, if you disagreed with me, it would be fervent, like throwdown, or is it like gradual disagreements?
Probably gradual. There's maybe, I don't think there would be a lot that I'm like, wow, we're just polar opposites on this.
Well, when I bring up the feminism topics, I watch it, the blood drain in your face. You like that one, and those are our best topics because you get amped up when I bring those up.
Do I?
You do. Well, you're a woman who went through college in social sciences, right?
Yeah.
You've got a fair bit of feminine indoctrination in your blood, even if you don't have a conscious realization of it.
I also have experience being a woman.
Yeah. But I could just see in your brain that there was some blue hair philosophy professor, and you hear the words about how the toxic masculinity is going to say this to you one day. And when I say those words, I watch the blood drain. And then you get to you say, I'm a lesbian now, and you start weaving a basket, and that we've come full circle.
Here's where I think the blood would drain.
Yeah.
I think you're wrong in your interpretation of what I'm thinking. Okay. You tell me what I'm thinking, and I'm like, that's not accurate.
But I bet I get the best reactions from you when I say outlandish things.
Because you accuse me of thinking things I'm not thinking.
That's where good conversations start. See, the fighting either can be nice and productive, or they can be destructive. And when we talk, it's all productive because I want your perspective, and I know how to elicit a response from you where it's not boring, right?
Yeah, and and on that subject matter, I wouldn't say it's something that like got indoctrinated into me in like college. I would say any pushback I have is probably my own personal experience, my own view being a woman in the working world. What I felt like I experienced would be probably any pushback. Right. I can't imagine.
But think about it. I'm trying to get a response. So I'm taking a feminism thing, and I'm accusing you of being indoctrinated.
Yeah.
If I want to get you amped up, I have like probably 5 more categories I can go through where you will be up in arms, and I can keep pushing on that.
Like, I know if I want to amp you up, I use cliches.
Yes.
I talk about national holidays. Yes. How we all should be off work for 100%. Holidays.
Chris Farley, by the way, his death happened December 18th.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. He was only 33 years old.
I cried when he died.
Really?
I did. I really like Chris Farr. And I couldn't have been very old. I was a kid. What year did he die?
Shit, what, 15 years ago?
I don't even know. I was a kid, and I remember being upset.
See what year that was.
He would have been how old? Chris Farley.
1997.
Tommy likey. Tommy want wingy. Yeah, 97. I was 13. Something like that.
But anyway, so you can dabble, and when you're in front of someone and you know that they can get amped up because of things you say, you know what topics get them rooted in a little bit of blood pressure raising.
Yeah.
I know that about you, and you know that about me.
Yeah. Like yesterday when you were like, oh, the pay inequality is not a thing. It's never been a thing. And I'm like, it actually has. Like in the past, it was a real thing. Like, it wasn't made up. It was a thing. And
if we're taking a snapshot of today and charging that it's happening today.
Yeah. And then I have flashbacks of like, I remember when I first got into radio, and anytime I was like the hired talent, radio personality, and I would go somewhere, everybody assumed I was an intern. Mm-hmm. Were you the intern? No, I'm the person doing this gig. Like, because I was a young girl, I was always looked at as the intern, as the.
What if it was just young?
Here.
So I would go. I owned the company at 20 years old, and I would walk in there and say, "Oh, are you the tech?" And I'm like, "No, I'm kind of the owner." I wasn't a girl. I just was young.
I mean,
and see, people make
I
judgments.
see when I then went into the world of like business and was working with local business owners. I was working alongside a male. Now, he was my superior, yes. But the moment people met us and didn't know who we were at first, oh, are you his secretary? I work with him. I'm helping him. I'm in this meeting. I'm part of what we're doing here. I'm leading this initiative. They see me and I'm the secretary.
But think about how dangerous that is. If you have a sensitivity,
yeah,
you are a hammer looking for a nail. So if you're ever experience anything bad, what is it? Because I'm black? Is it because I'm short? Is it because I'm young? Is it because I'm female?
Now you have this like filter.
So, but if you have a sensitivity and you use that sensitivity to not judge other people by things that they may be sensitive to, then I would say there's some consistency. Yeah. But I bet you in the last week, you went to a snap judgment and judged somebody based on something that they might have been sensitive to in the same way that you were judged because you were a young female.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I might have.
So that's just what people do. We categorize, we classify, we make judgments, and we make snap judgments usually, and sometimes they're wrong. And nobody likes it when it happens. Yeah. But
again,
it's human nature.
That's not being indoctrinated by some blue hair at a university. That's real life.
Wait, what are we referring to?
The pushback. The pushback if you're like, well, you're sensitive to anything feminist.
Right. A feminist will tell you it's because you're a girl and girls are, subordinates in all capacities, and gives you warnings about how it's everything is misogynist. Everything is male dominated. There's toxic masculinity dripping off of everything. Now you're looking for a very specific nail. And when that starts happening, you're like, see.
Yeah.
Right?
And yeah, I mean, some people need to see, like, I've been around a true misogynist, but I've also
Not
been
today,
around
right? Like right now, like in the moment.
No. But I was going to say, and I've also been around men that encouraged me, that didn't push the "you're my secretary," and they said, "No, I'm bringing you into this. I want you at the table here. I want you whatever." So you have both. You just got to make sure you don't keep looking at the one other than the other, if that makes sense.
That was my point.
Don't get hyper focused.
So if you agree with me that we are surrounded by a bunch of bad people who do bad things, then you're not, hung up on like, okay, I'm 5'4", right? Not the biggest person that's going to come into the conversation. So I walk into a meeting and who do you think is going to make eye contact with the shortest person there? And then I got to decide whether or not I'm just going to be a victim and I got shafted because I'm the short guy in the room and this person was dressed nicer than me and this one has more money than me, right? So then I'm going to come and say, well, I just can't do it. Or I'm going to be like, I'm going to take advantage of being the smartest person in the room. And after people who dominated with physical attributes, I'm going to nail them with mental attributes. So I shifted the paradigm, right? Those things still happen.
So
but it's not my bread and butter.
Like, I know if I'm approaching a certain situation, I'm very aware that, maybe back then I'm young or I'm a woman. Do you still go into situations and think, hey, I'm probably going to be the shortest one there and I got to show up?
I have to change my strategy.
I
can't just play the game and then get mad that when I play the game the way that everybody else is. I have to shift the game and stand out.
Yeah. And I think it's with everything. I mean, if someone's going to a job interview in a corporate office and you don't have on something business professional, like if you go in sweatpants, you're going to be perceived a certain way.
Right.
So what do? You prepare how you look to meet the situation.
Right. But I'm going to give real talk to someone. If a black kid gets pulled over 5 times in Poland and he's completely convinced that it's because he was black, right?
Yeah.
And all of society reinforces that he was totally black. That's why he got pulled over. Well, I'm going to say, I'm a little curious. Maybe it's something other than you being black. Let's look into all the other variables and see if there were some things that added up there that, yes, you happen to be black and pulled over, right?
Yeah.
If you want it to be because you were black, then just, give up, wave the white flag, and just go get pulled over. If you don't want to be pulled over and you think it might be some of these other reasons, let's magnify the other reasons and see if I'm right. Nobody will ever take me up on that challenge because I think I could take a black kid and I could teach them how not to get pulled over in a city that has a lot of black kids getting pulled over, by just finding out what the real reason for thing and changing your strategy so that you're not a victim of that data point.
Yeah, probably. You have comments about Bonagino and other things.
Do I have to go up?
There might be one before.
Oh, okay. They were rating me. So Carter said that 8 things I would agree with, 2 things I would not. And as long as I don't get any higher than an 8, that's good. Because if I'm just parroting things so that people will like me and not be I wouldn't have done my job.
Yeah.
Remember, I grew up in radio around the likes of Ron Verb, right? And Ron Verb made his entire career out of taking the counter argument, but doing it that sounded sincere, just to get people riled up and want to fight with him about it. And I was fascinated because I never knew where he stood, because one week he might be saying one thing, a couple weeks later he would be saying the exact opposite. So getting a bearing on what he said just to elicit a response versus how he really feels, could never know. You would never know.
You know what's interesting? I almost feel like I want to change my answer. I would say 5 maybe right off the bat. But if there was something that you and I disagreed on and I truly heard you out, I bet I would move up to 6 or 7. Like, I bet I would say, oh, okay, we actually don't disagree that much. I don't know.
But the ferreting out of information, the process that you go through in a debate, the goal is not to just agree to disagree, right?
Yeah.
It's let's see how close we can get to the middle on enough overlapping things that we can agree on.
Yeah.
And if we after we analyze all of that data, feel differently on the other side of it, those feelings could be different, but doesn't make one of us wrong and one of us right.
Yeah. Julie says Bongino is just the first to jump ship. He has been pissed since the Epstein debacle.
I would be too.
Wouldn't you say Marjorie Taylor Greene may have been the first to jump ship? She was a pretty hardcore Trump supporter.
Yeah, but you want my real opinion on this?
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's good. It's a boring opinion and it's kind of templated. You know, government is hard, right? And when you're on a trajectory, you get limited out when you get to a certain point, and everything you've done in that strategy starts working against you, that you can go no further. You can't garner any more attention. You can't garner any more political power. You can't garner any more, conferences that you're in on, or on any kind of councils or whatever. And I think she was maxed out. And in order to do it, she had to disrupt the status quo and change gears. And she just embraced other people and different people that would pay attention to her. And I think it was a bad move on her part, because it felt kind of slimy the way that it happened.
I thought it was just me. I kept trying to question myself. Am I putting bias on this? Am I putting bias on this? When she went on this whole campaign of, I'm going to read these names, I'm going to do this, give me the names, I'm announcing. To me, it felt very self-indulgent. Like she was doing it for her own attention.
Yeah, but that's the game of politics.
Yeah.
You do a lot of self-interested things because you have to stay around getting elected and get stuff done. And it's a rough one because the sliminess in it, I just feel like, anyway, let me move on from that.
Jerry says, I believe he figured out that politics at that level is very trying, and he most likely didn't realize the automatic target he became by accepting the position. He may just feel that after a year he had enough, or felt he did enough.
Yeah. And that's when you're a hardliner and you take opposition, like there aren't very many hardliners that are in politics, because in order to get elected, you have to not piss people off, right? You have to make nice with everyone. So if I have a public argument with you and you hate me, and then things get petty like they do in politics, the enemies list that you create gets so vast that nobody wants to work with you. The hardliners get to that point faster than people who are more neutral. Like you have Rand Paul, and who's a dude that was speaking last night. But anyway, these midliners that you're like, oh, he's going against the president right now. They're voting against this bill. That's going to make the president pretty angry. And I'm like, that's super valuable, because he can play that he can be nice when it makes sense, and he can be a critic when he doesn't make sense. I have respect for that.
Yeah.
Hardliners they're in an agreement stature all the time. So they can never even disagree. So you get pigeonholed.
Oh yeah. We see all the time these videos that are now coming out, like things the Democrats said years ago when it was Clinton or Obama or whatever. We need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this. This makes sense. This is the right answer. And now that Trump's saying it, they're just, oh, well, we can't do this. We shouldn't do this. We shouldn't do that. It's like you're just playing to your side instead of what should be done or what actually makes sense. Julie says, this may come as a surprise to you, but I have been a card-carrying NOW now. Something participant since high school, no indoctrination. Something about
what's now stand for?
I think
National Organization of Women.
Is that it? I'll say it was something with feminism. No indoctrination. Women that try to dominate are then called a bitch. How do you feel about that? That women men are leaders, women are bossy.
What does it matter?
I think it.
Have you ever been around men and what they call each other? Have you ever done that? You're okay. So here it is. The feminine aura that walks into a room. Agreeableness, kindness, and politeness. If you're in a room with all men, they are brutal with each other. So it's like the women say, hey, let's get into this environment where everybody's really cutthroat and mean to each other and whatever. But I want to be treated different. I want a kinder version. So you're either going to inject kindness into a male-dominated deal, and now the men have to behave a certain way and say different things and not to hurt feelings and get people's dander up. So I think it's congruent. You being called a bitch means that you're called the same things that everybody else is.
So you're saying by doing that to women, you actually are being inclusive.
That is being included.
It's not like you're separating them and we're all buddies. It's we're treating you like we treat each other.
Men don't compliment each other when it means we're competing against one another. You want bitch is not the worst word you're going to be called if you were really getting a full dose of what it means in being in a competitive environment. But if we feminize these deals, they become different. I don't want feminized business at all.
So if a woman has this sort of hypothetical image in her brain of the boys club and everybody's sitting around hanging out and being chummy and making deals with each other because they're buds, and here comes a woman, you're a bitch, get out of here. That's not accurate. It's we are also calling each other names.
Yeah, before you got there, it's like, Dick, you're stupid. Get out of business. You should quit tomorrow. You should probably off yourself.
And then the woman's like, hey, guys, you're a bitch, and you should also get out of here.
You just got a dose. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But a lot of that testosterone and that aggressiveness is why business happens to the full levels that it does. So if you started taking maybe some hormone, testosterone, maybe you can throw it back instead of being mad that they called you the B word or the C word. God forbid. If the C word gets levied, then now is going to petition the state to have someone executed.
So do you be honest?
Yeah.
Be honest, Joe Danyi.
I'm ready.
If you're hiring for a position,
yeah,
you see two applicants of the same age. One's male, one's female. That's all you know about them. Do you feel differently in any way, shape, or form?
Yes. And I have even caught myself during interviews that I am far more delicate and understanding when it's a woman, and I am way harder on men. Way harder. It is so, and I don't know why I do it. I think it's my protective nature where I just love women. I think they should.
You see them as like the more delicate species.
So because every once in a while a girl applicant will say something to me and I'll respond whatever. And I'm thinking, if a guy ever effing said that to me, I would not hire them in 2 seconds. But I'm almost more adopting when a woman says it because I'm more caring and compassionate to them.
Do you have an example?
I can't. It's real people, so I can't.
Okay. So is it something being said about their personal life or their work experience?
Both. Yeah, there's been examples where, I want people who, like, when they hit pressures that they don't buckle and fall down. And so I want to hear a lot of someone who are like, hey, if you came into an office and somebody started screaming at you that their computer's not working, can you compartmentalize and take the emotion out of it and just work on the job and be able to get through the day without that wrecking everything you had lined up for that day? If the guy's like, yeah, I don't care, I'll tune it out, I'll be fine, I hear that shit all the time, I'm used to that kind of stuff, right? If I said the same thing to a girl, if somebody started screaming at you, I'd almost be like, if they scream at you, you tell me, and I'll kick their ass. It's a different engagement.
And why do you feel that way?
Because I'm protective. I celebrate women.
So when would you tell somebody decompartmentalize, let it roll off your back, or it's time to stand up for yourself and you don't take that shit?
It should be. And again, you just wanted my honest thing, and I will be naturally more protective of people that that I think will be handle pressure not as well as someone who's just like dumbly dismissive.
Would you more quickly tell the woman don't take that shit and stand up for yourself than you would a man?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because it would annoy me that anyone would go after a woman and be mean to them and be aggressive with them. That's more an indictment on them than her.
So you see a difference.
Yeah, for sure.
So then you could understand a woman seeing a difference.
What do you mean?
When you said that there's that it shouldn't be, oh, it's just because they're a woman that, we still treat them differently. There is no difference. There is equality. Right, there is whatever.
Okay. If the woman was, if I said, hey, you come into an office and someone starts screaming at you, how are you going to handle that? I want to make sure that you don't buckle. And she's like, oh, I can handle that. I've had brothers all my life and we'll tackle. I'd say, boom.
What do you consider to be buckling?
Buckling as in not able to continue on because what you just experienced was too overwhelming. I'm done. I'm out. Yeah. If you can't handle that pressure, you are going to buckle.
What if they said, I'm not so upset that I have to leave. I'm choosing to leave because I choose not to work around this. I'm respecting myself and saying, I'm not going to do this.
That would be a black mark.
Versus, oh my God, you're such a jerk and I'm leaving.
I had, and this isn't just, I would say primarily men answer that question correctly, almost uniform. I had one guy that didn't answer the question like a little feminine boy, right? And I felt the same way.
So? What did he say?
He said, I'm not going to quote. I'm going to make up a
paraphrase.
I'm not going to paraphrase because I don't want to connect it to the actual person. I'm just going to use different nouns and verbs. He said something to the effect of, let me just jokingly, because I don't want to say that about this person. If their cat died, they would just take the whole rest of the day off. So I was like, okay, you're going to buckle in 2 seconds because the pressures are way bigger than your cat departing. If you're that emotionally connected with things and you're disturbed by things that are hard to handle, and you're going to call off the day because of it, you're never going to make it 2 weeks here. And it's just an indication not strong enough emotionally to survive in this industry.
When my dog died, I was a wreck.
Yeah.
For days.
For sure.
You see that as a weakness.
It is a weakness.
A weakness in a situation they are about to enter, or weakness in general?
Whatever their dependency is. So do you want your surgeon to be weak? If he gets stressed out, let's just say he goes and meditates for a half hour and it gets hard and he's, scrapes an artery and he starts bleeding and he gets stressed out. Do you want to be on the floor in his meditation, or do you want him to push through it and come through for you? Which one?
Obviously, I don't want my surgeon to slip because he is emotionally distraught.
For sure. When there's a dependency,
but
you need someone who will come through when there's pressure.
But if somebody said to me before the anesthesia, yeah, we're about to knock you out now, I just feel so bad, Dr. Smith just had to put his dog down, I'd be like, whoa, let's reschedule. Right.
But we're saying real world things that are happening. You have to line the emotional fortitude with the people that are about to experience the pressures of a job or a responsibility.
And there are times where it's like, I'm going through something right now and I've got to suck it up. Like a soldier just saw something horrific right next to them. You can't stop.
We're not talking about the right thing.
But I'm saying there are examples that you have to quell something and move on. And there are examples that you don't.
Or you could just have the characteristic, either you have it or like you're not going to tempt a characteristic if you're emotionally have weakness and you're in an industry where you're going to hit emotionally charged things. You're not the proper person to handle that.
That's what I'm saying. Right. We're kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah.
if you're going into a situation, an industry in which you've got to be able to suck it up.
Right.
That's different.
Exactly.
If you're in a situation that you're like, you know what, I'm emotionally distraught right now, and it's not going to derail anything if I go and like freak out for a minute.
If there's not a dependency where there's not hell to pay for someone because you couldn't handle it, I'd rather know that beforehand. Like I'm really afraid of the dark. There's certain places I wouldn't send you because I know you're going to run in the dark, and I want you to be able to do it in spite of being afraid of the dark.
What about the applicant that would say, well, I would need a minute? Not like I'll let it roll off and I'll continue. It's I'm going to walk away for a minute, gather myself, and then continue. There's
no downside. That's you taking a known weakness, and you've already figured out how to deal with it where you don't make it somebody else's problem. So that would give high scores.
Like I've had that before where like if I was in the middle of a job or working and something very upsetting happened personally, I've had to say, I'm going to go to the bathroom for a minute.
Yeah.
Pull yourself together. And then you come out and act like nothing happened. Right. That we would say
that is dealing with pressures. Dealing with pressures doesn't mean being dumb to the pressures. It means having a way to deal with them so that it doesn't wreck you.
Yeah, because I think anybody that just says, I will be unaffected is an abnormie and possibly a little psychotic.
I would absolutely hire myself. For sure.
Would you ever see someone and think, you might be a little psychotic if you're unaffected by this?
Yeah, but so everybody else,
psychopaths.
But everybody else is too. So I'm not different, and only different in ways, not in total psychosis.
Yeah. Like, could you see an example or a situation that it's a red flag to be unaffected?
Certain circumstances, but you ask enough questions, you can find out what the origin is of why they are the way they are. Like you could figure me out pretty quick. Yeah. I'm not going to, axe murder anybody.
Yeah. Like I have always said to you, your lack of emotion, in my opinion, is a defense mechanism.
You think so?
I have always said something happened to you and you chose to shut down as a defense mechanism so you don't get hurt.
Sure.
And I feel like today that was validated.
I would have told you. I would have told you not as a defense mechanism as a disease, defense mechanism as a strategy. Like we have defense mechanisms everywhere.
While your lack of emotion and my maybe sometimes extreme emotion can have some friction that you got to work around, I much rather have someone like you that chooses to shut down than go on a murderous rampage.
Well, I don't shut down. I get contemplative and I'm figuring out. My gears are turning because that's my Super Bowl. When it's time to solve a problem, I get quiet and contemplative while I figure out and in certain circumstances, let's just say, this actually happened to me, and I don't want to tell on them either. We had so many good examples, but I think
they're watching. They're not watching.
But still, I put it out there, and I always feel like these are human beings. They're not here to defend themselves, and my account might not be.
But we don't know who they are.
I
know. It could be made up situation for all we know.
Yeah, but the context clues can give it away, so I can't even. But anyway, let's just say, would you rather, in a really bad situation, would you rather have me or you there if it meant your survival?
It depends on what the situation calls for. There are some where I'd be like, Joe, I need you to handle this. And then there are some where you might want a different tactic to handle it.
Okay. If it was strategy and if your life depended on it and it meant true contemplation, you would want me on it. Quick contemplation. There's a million scenarios where if I had an emotional reaction and flipped out, I would have wasted the time where you could do something about it. And because I didn't go into an emotional state, I went right into a logical. I solved the problem even before it came to a problem, and I got us out of it before the other person would have even got to the to worry about it.
Oh yeah. I mean, there have been times where I'd be like, Joe, you're gonna have to take the lead on this.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna get emotional.
But that's my strong suit, and I've developed that as a strong suit.
Yeah.
You call me a psychotic because I am that way.
No, I'm saying
it's a superpower.
It can become psychotic if you go on a murderous rampage.
Yeah, it's not. It's a developed skill, and that's my superpower.
Like I've always said, I don't like that I get emotional in certain situations. And if I could tap into being more like that, I would. Like, I'd be like, man, this situation, it'd be really great to think more like Joe right now. I wish I could think more like Joe because I know me and I am going to sabotage myself if I don't act like Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are certain situations where I'm like, don't be Joe right now. Let me do this.
Yeah.
Because we got to smoosh this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Smoosh. Muscle.
Ooh, Jersey Joe.
Yeah. Joe, when you go to a large group meeting, do you sit in the back or sit in the front of the room?
Good question. Big meeting.
To a large group meeting, do you sit in the back?
Well,
or sit
all
in
right.
the front?
If I don't want to be there, I sit in the back because I can escape without being
I
noticed.
was thinking that. That's what
But
you would do.
if it's something I'm interested in, I'll sit up front so I can hear better.
So it's really not, it's not what you feel you're bringing value-wise. It's your interest level.
Yeah.
You're like, I bring value. I got that. It's
Right.
just, do I care enough to listen, or am I like, I have to be here and I'm going to jet as soon as I leave?
Yeah, but Jerry, I'll probably be on the stage. That's where I'd prefer. And I don't have to worry about where I sit.
You're like,
I'm in front of the
I'm
podium.
leading the meeting.
I'm
I
behind
am the
podium.
meeting. I love it. Julie says, got him, Kelin. That's when we were talking about the feminism and women being different. And then
didn't
you
get
said
nothing.
you also
You
feel
didn't
different.
get nothing.
That's the first
It's a
time
good
in my life.
conversation.
First
Good
time in my life,
conversation.
Joe was like, okay, Kelin, I see your point. You didn't admit it, but we all
In
saw
my
it.
brain, I put a little check mark,
We
a
all-
tiny one
You're
in
like,
that box.
Half a check for Kelin.
Really
versus
erasable check.
100 trillion for Joe.
Yeah. There are situations that require empathy and emotion. I would vote for Kelin. I would too.
Yeah?
I would. We need more Kellins out there. We really do.
Aw. Thanks, guys. No.
You just ruined it for me. Now I voted against you. I voted for the turd.
He hates me.
Do you remember that South Park episode?
That sounds
turd
familiar.
sandwich?
No, I did not.
The douchebag and turd sandwich?
I've not really watched a lot of South Park lately.
This is a while ago. This is probably during
Oh.
Trump's first run. They were contemplating if I'm going to vote for the turd sandwich or the douchebag. And it was relative to,
Who was the turd sandwich and who was the douchebag?
I don't know. Who was it? Who would it have been? Who would he run against in his first term?
Wasn't it? Oh, it was Clinton, Hillary, and then Biden.
Maybe, I don't know.
I think. I don't know.
Was she the douchebag and he was the turd sandwich? I don't remember. Maybe it was longer ago than that.
I don't know, but that's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Yeah, and if I were in a bit, Julie says the situations require empathy. If I were running a nursing facility, right, and bedside manner or connecting with patients or whatever, and I was interviewing the same person, my line of questioning would be different because I'm not preparing the person I'm about to hire with their ability to handle pressures and be dead to the world and get the job done anyway. It's going to be, I have a person in front of me and I've got to have pressures, but my empathy has to come out when those pressures come out. It would be a different line of questioning. That's why the meritocracy and the truth about things is that I'm not bashful about saying that some people are good in one capacity and some are others, and one's not better than the other. That's where cooperation between people means that we marry up with people, not just in a, husband-wife type of thing, but we marry up with people of equal but opposite strengths of us. And that's how we're able to get a lot of things accomplished.
Yeah, I have found it's interesting. My day-to-day professional life is probably a position that should be more logical.
Yeah.
And I am more emotional,
Mhm.
and it makes for a stressful day. Now, there are also aspects to it that you do need that
Mhm.
people connection.
Right.
And it goes really well. And then other times it's like, ooh, you know what? If I didn't care, I would be a lot less stressed out right now.
Yeah.
If I could just let it roll off my back, I would be less stressed out right now. So what do you think is more of an advantage? I guess it just depends on the situation.
Yeah. Well, I think my annoyance with the feminist movement is when you take someone who is not suited to do something and you force it for the sake of doing it rather than they're going to find fulfillment and happiness to be able to do the job well and whatever. It's almost like knowing that you don't belong there and shouldn't be there, and doing it just to show you that I can get there too, kind of thing.
Mhm.
It becomes more about the activism and less about the, somebody was like, I'm a female front lineman, in the military, right? I'm not at all concerned that you got there and don't deserve to be. I'm looking at you like you can do everything a guy can do, and they didn't, lower the barriers to get you there. And I'm cool with you being there as long as nobody else pays the consequence, because you're there and really is unnatural to be there.
I have seen where my stronger emotional side can be frustrating in certain situations. Like, oh man, I really wish I wasn't this way in this situation. Do you ever have that where like the way you are is like frustrating in certain situations?
Well, again, being logical, I know where my blind spots are, and I have to craft ways of dealing with the things that aren't going to be my natural skill set and get just enough to get me by. I don't overdo it because I don't ever want to be that way. I've not practiced this way to be good at, the emotional side, because they're in conflict. They really are. So I think emotionalized people have to have just a fair amount of logic to keep them sane and whatever. And logical people have to have just enough emotion. Or if I think the better you marry people up, the less I have to do, because I'm protected by someone having my 6 in exactly the way they need to be. And then I can worry less about being more emotional because I know I'm covered by someone who's skilled in that department.
Yeah, it is kind of funny too. Like you mentioned earlier, wanting to fight if someone's like being mean to a woman or whatever. If I hear someone being mean to you, I know my brain tells me Joe probably doesn't care. It's probably not affecting him. It is rolling off his back. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm pissed for him. Like, yeah. I'm going to kick their ass.
Well, that's why,
even if he doesn't care.
That's why you and I work really well together, because we have a true understanding. I'm not looking to change you. I'll mock you for the way that you are, and you're not looking to change me, and you'll mock me for the way that I am. And I'm cool with that, because I don't take any of those words personally. And then after this conversation, I will not remember that you even said it.
Oh, I'll probably remember
forever,
for the rest of my life. On this day at this time, you said this. I want to know what you meant by that. Why'd you say it like that? It's not what you said. It's how you said it.
That just made my day. Thank you.
Do you and your wife like butt heads because of
No, we got a pretty good thing where we got a good association for our each other's blind spots, and we got each other's back and try not. Yeah. I mean, it rears its head. I mean, anytime you spend time with someone, their insecurities and their just lack of skill in certain departments, it's annoying at times.
Yeah, I would say if there's any like one consistent gripe I have in my marriage, it is like I will always say to my husband, like, why do you have to say it like that? Why do you have to have attitude all the time? And he will say, till he's blue in the face, I did not say it with attitude. I did not have attitude. And I'm like, you're going to tell me right now you didn't just have attitude right then and there. You're going to tell me you said that in a normal tone of voice. Yes. And we just will not agree. And he's been around soldiers for the last 20 years. He's been around men.
Oh, that shit talking that I referred to before. Yes. They're not kind and nice.
Everything is said with an lack of attitude.
Exactly.
Everything is said with a tone. And so that's how he talks. And I'm like, any other normal person would have heard that and been like, what's your problem? And he's like, what? And that's probably our biggest, like, where I am sure you have a tone. You do. And he is sure he does not, because he doesn't hear it, because in his mind, it's not a tone. It's how one speaks. And I'm like, you're a civilian. It's not how we talk to each other. You're going to get punched by me. But I could see that sort of being us, where every so often you'll say something and I'll be like, you're going to want to rephrase that. Mm-hmm. Like, you please say that differently, or I'm going to leave here mad.
If you take exception to a subconscious or not on purpose tone when something was said to you, are you open that if he said that you say things with an unserious or underwhelming tone, that he should expect you to change how you tone him if you're willing to tell him how to tone you? Is there a consistency there? You
probably
change,
I don't know
change
if
the natural method of speaking because you offended or annoyed me?
I guess this is why I would call it out. If I truly felt as though that's just how someone is and how they communicate, I feel like I could let it go. I think that deep down, I think there was
I see
something
this
behind
little
that.
projection there.
Yeah, like if
So
if
of
you were
equal
like,
things-
well, I was just being matter of fact. My brain goes, no, you weren't. You had an agenda with saying it like that. And I think you're being passive aggressive by saying, what? I didn't say it.
When he says you didn't, you know, your kind tones wasn't taking it as serious enough. The charge is equal. And as long as you're willing to stop using your tone at him, then he would be willing to stop using his tone at you. But if you're unwilling, if you're like, mine's the better one and you should do more like me, then that's not like a compromise between two conflicting pieces of information.
I do think you could say, when to me, it sounds like this. And then the other person could say, okay, well, I'll keep in mind that when I'm communicating to you, I need this type of inflection, or I need to
just
quill
use
this
that
type
same,
of inflection.
if you negotiated that, I don't like when you say it, it doesn't feel like you're taking it serious. And you would swear, no, I was taking it serious. Yeah, but I didn't feel that way. And if he's sarcastic or too brash or whatever, and then you're like, well, when I hear that doesn't feel, there's still not a feeling in that. And he gets to say like, okay, well, I'll try to soften the things that I say. Now you have a compromise between two people. I bet your tone annoys him in certain respects as his tone annoys you in those same respects. And so long each of you are like, cool, I take your perspective and I'll try harder to be better.
Yeah. Like the biggest thing is he always sounds irritated. And I'd be like, what's your problem? I don't have a problem. You do. Why don't we just address it and move on? Because I don't have a problem. You're telling me you didn't just say that right now with it. That's what I'm saying. And so I have to, I guess, trust that he's not choosing to not address something and he's lying, that he really doesn't have anything to address. And I'll finally say like, all right, tell me now or we'll move on. Do you actually have something you're irritated? And if it's a no, all right.
Just do that quickly, because if you insist that you're asking first party, right?
Yeah.
If the first party says something, it's usually the true thing. So if you maybe need one layer of affirmation that what they said was true, but if you say it 7 times and keep insisting that the thing you think he feels is not what he feels and he's saying he didn't feel it, don't keep going down that path. That feels a little, a little bullying, a little emotional.
If you ask me something and I was like, no, I'm fine. And you're like, I feel like you're not fine. Are you just saying that? And I go, oh, no, yeah, I actually am. Sorry. I was just thinking of something else. I am. And I changed it. That feels like I'm not lying. But if I go, no, I'm fine. Are you sure you're not fine? Yeah.
Okay, so if I
feel like I'm not fine.
If I asked you a question and you came in like a soft spoken, I told you a thing that's got my anxiety up, and you were like, oh, okay, it's too passive, whatever. And I say, I don't think you took that very serious. And you're like, no, I did take that serious. Would you change your tone into a more serious tone so that it would be more believable from my side? Would you, if that's what you would?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if I said something and they're like, what do you mean? I would say, oh, no, I thought I was. Yeah, no, we're good. I changed it.
Okay.
Whereas if you said, what, but you do sound mad. I'm not mad. I didn't change anything.
Okay, what would it sound like? Give me an impression of him saying, no, I'm not mad, in a tone that would make it believable that he's really not mad. Would it going up a couple octaves? No,
probably.
I'm not mad.
Like, if he was like, no, I'm fine. You sound not fine. Oh, no, I am actually. Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of something, but I am.
Yeah. Teach him a little bit about what the tone should sound like. Maybe some practice, some responses, do some role playing. It might lead to other things.
But people naturally do that. It does happen. So in a situation that it doesn't happen, now I'm like, now I know you're lying. You're not fine. Just say, I don't want to talk about it. Don't lie and say you're fine. Just say, I don't want to talk about it.
This feels like a defense mechanism. Who hurt you?
The world hurt me. Carter says, good show today. I will have to retool for tomorrow.
Thank you, Carter.
And yeah, he's not in the military now, so she's not wrong. Not wrong.
Not saying anything.
Ever.
Not saying anything.
I'm never wrong. Mm-hmm. This has been fun.
Let's get out of here. All right.
Ta-da!
Catch you guys next time.
Have a good day. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. Thank you for